G'day! Welcome to chapter 19 of my RX323 restoration rotary fitting videos. In this video I start wiring up all the coils, wiring up all the stuff towards the engine, do the engine wiring harness and wire up the fuel pumps. So hope you enjoy it. So I'm just wiring up my coils. So I've just taken this back off the car. So I've got my trusty wiring diagram which shows the coils here, leading and trailing, front rotor, rear rotor. So the rotary engine, this picture is actually upside down, so the leading coil is always at the bottom on a rotary engine and the trailing coil is at the top. So it's pretty straightforward. There's only 4 wires. So we've got yellow and black tigers if anyone's interested, yellow, and they all just go to the negative. So that's all it is. Those 4 wires there run to the negative side, so that's all done. And then back to the ECU, which is that plug there, and the power wire which runs across all the positive and goes to ignition. So now I'll just quickly got new length of wire. Strip it back and I'll start the first one. Just give it a twist. Put that in there. I don't know whether you can see the wire, the couple of wires sticking out at the end, and then grip it. Like that. There we go, nice sturdy. One to there, one to there, and then I might just join it up there into that loom, and one to there, and then off to ignition. So there's the coils. So I've wired them up now. You can see the red positive wire going to the positive side, and I've just they go up and join up here, and I've just spliced them up here with a solder joint and with some heat shrink just there. So now just trying to wrap it up and make it look nice and tidy. So I've just bolted the coils back on now. So just there's 4 10mm bolts, and this is the lead that runs up to here to the plug which goes back into the ECU, and that's the earth and power lead which is there, which will hook up a bit later on. So all that will go and tuck in. There's a hole there in the firewall, which there's a grommet and that there for that, where the main wiring harness will run through as well. So I've gone down a bit more shopping, and I've got this. It's a nice little relay and fuse box, which is going to go just over here. I'll just mount that just there like that. And then all the wires that can run up to there, the relays. I only really need 2 relays, but it's good to have some spares, and all the fuses and that will sit in there as well for the fuel injection. And the fuel pump relay and the cooling fan relay, which is all the wiring that's just down there on the cooling fan. So I've been focusing on this area of the wiring diagram. This area here is the external regulator, which I no longer have. And so number 1 is the external regulator, number 2 is the alternator. So I have to get rid of all that wiring, associated wiring. Some of the wires go into the power, goes into the car and comes out of the car through the firewall. So what I've done is I've just nutted out what is 12 volts with the key off. So I've just highlighted all those things. So there's some of the things like that will work when the key's off is the door light and the interior light and stuff like that. So that's what most of that circuit is. And then I went to the accessories. So some of the things that the accessories fires up the radio and a few other bits and pieces. And then you got the ignition. And once the ignition's on, you're running other different things in the car, such as rear wipers and things like that. And then I don't know if you can see here, but just on the starting circuit, so when you turn the car to start the car, that's the starter motor just up there, and that's what I've done with that yellow line which goes down to there. So that's the power going to the starter motor. This is interesting here. Number 13 there is the lockout for the transmission. So I don't no longer have that anymore, so that runs straight through that. So once I've nutted all that out, so I've gone back to the main wiring harness and just found those couple of wires that I don't need, stripped them all out. So I've got, like this one here is the main feed that's got a power up inside the car, so that's 12 volts to all the stuff inside the car, so I've just labelled that there, 12 volts. And all the wires and everything that were in the car that I don't need anymore, like the external regulator, is now down there. Because the car now has an alternator with an internal regulator, so I don't need any, all this wiring can just go now. It's just so much easier in the simple setup. So as there's an internal regulator now in the back of the alternator, the wiring for that is just one cable comes out of the back. There's one cable for to charge the battery, and that's regulated by the regulator inside the alternator rather than outside the alternator. And that cable there can either run straight from there down. I could run it straight down towards the starter motor, and then because the starter motor's got its own main battery cable that runs up to here straight to the battery, or I'm not sure which way I'm going to run it yet, but it's just sitting there with giving me options. So that can probably run straight to the battery. And there's one other wire that's got to go in the back of the alternator, and that's just for the charge light. This is the wire here. The yellow with the red trace is the one that goes in the back of the alternator. So I've just pulled those couple of wires out there and just labelled them all, ready to go. And the next thing I've done, I've just started playing around with the fuel injection, just wiring up all that sort of stuff. Once again, it's quite easy and quite straightforward. Battery positive red to the injectors. We've got an earth back through to the ECU. There's some relays here for the fuel pump, power and earth, through down to the fuel pump down here, and then just wires out through to the throttle position switch. I've got water temperature just here as well. There's a lot of other sensors that I can run as well, like an oxy sensor and stuff like that, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to run that. I'll just see how it goes. It only ran before with throttle position and coolant temp, so, and the other thing I need to do is just run vacuum as well into the manifold, so I'll just tap into where the booster is for that. So this is the wiring harness I've made up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 injector wires, coolant temp sensor, and the throttle position wires. That's the loom there, snakes round through to the plug, which plugs straight into the ECU. A couple other extra wires there, pink wires for the relay for the fuel pump, and there's some other auxiliary wires there. I think the white wire there, so I can run my cooling fans. So as you can see, at the moment, there's just shit everywhere, wires everywhere, but it is pretty much straightforward. So I'm just starting to wire up my fuse box relay. So I've got my main power feed coming from the battery onto this side of the fuses, and then the other side of the fuses. So whatever different amperage, whether it's 30 or 20 or 25 amp fuse will go on this side in here. And then we run the power out of there to the terminal 30 of the relay. So this is the fuel pump relay, so that's the power there. I've got this one's going to be my relay for my fan, and this is the what number is it? 86 wire straight out of the wiring harness feed from the ECU for the fuel pump, and that one, the white one there, is for the fans, to switch the fans on when it gets to a certain temperature. I've just made this third one up here just as a spare so far. I'm just running the wiring to the fuel pump, so there's my wire just sitting there. But interestingly enough, I just pulled up the back seat, and how's this? It's the original build document for the car, still under the seat. Just shows to show how original this car is. And now I'm starting to feel a bit guilty that I'm bastardising it. So I've drilled a hole here in the floor, just put a little grommet in here for the power wire for the fuel pump. I've got the wire coming through here, so I'll just strip it. I'll strip that back. I've just got a little bit of heat shrink here as well. Put that through there out of the way. Got my little terminal. This is 4mm wire for the power feed. Just crimp this over. Like that. Just put this over there like that. And just, this is my little gas soldering iron, just shrinking the shrink wrap. I should be using the proper fitting I've got with this little thing, but I'm too lazy to go get it. There we go. Goes on there. Pick up some of that slack. So there we go, I'll just tighten up that nut and the wiring to the fuel pump is done. So I've run my fuel pump wire. It comes up through the firewall and down through next to all the other feed lines. So this is my fuse box where I've started to make all the other wires for. So this is the main wire out of here now. So I think it goes about there. So snip that. Get rid of that. Strip it. Maybe more. Give it a twist. Don't need all the heat shrink. So slide that up there like that. I've got my terminal wire, so that goes on there like that. I'll just crimp this down. So squash that on there like that. Just now crimp the wire to the insulation. That. Now what I also like to do is to just put a bit of solder in there as well. So I've got my little soldering iron. Just jam that in there and just get it nice and hot. Just so you have a really good connection and a good solid connection and it doesn't work its way loose. So you've got the soldering on the bottom of the terminal there. Now all I do is just feed in, wait till it gets hot enough. There we go, that's a nice bit of solder on there. Now get my little heat shrink just to protect it. And just shrink up the heat shrink around the wire like that. That's done. So now, according to my wiring diagram, this wire is number 87. So here's a relay I've just been using. So it's got the numbers on the bottom of it. So 87. So I've got my green wire there from the ECU, power feed from, so that goes to the battery, across a fuse, power into the relay. That's the switch. And this one, it's got to go to number 87, which is that black one there. So then that one there just slides in like that, and it clicks. And that's it. So I don't know if you can see it just there, it's all nicely in there like that. So now the terminal is terminal 86. And 86 is the ignition power source. So the ignition will come through to that terminal, so I'll wire that one up. So basically, that's just the fuel pump circuit done. So that's all done nicely. Hey, thanks for watching chapter 19. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to go too much more into the wiring. I don't want to bore you to death with wiring. Hopefully in the next chapter, I'll start doing some other things. This car's, the engine's bridge ported, so I'm going to run out of vacuum, I think, for the brakes. So I need to put a vacuum tank on and a few other things like that. So I might start dabbling in that area of the build. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.